Gentlemen, let me tell you this: silence and self control are more powerful than chasing. When you stop running after her, she starts running through endless thoughts. And those thoughts can completely change how she sees you. Today, I'm going to break down exactly what goes on in her mind when you don't chase. When you don't chase her, the very first emotion that rises in her heart is curiosity. It's subtle at first, almost unnoticeable, but it begins to grow with every moment of silence you maintain. You see, most men give their attention freely and immediately. They shower her with compliments, they respond instantly, and they rush to prove themselves. So when you don't do what she expects, she cannot help but ask herself, why is he different? That single question is the spark of curiosity. Curiosity is powerful because it doesn't just stay on the surface, it lingers in her mind and follows her into her day. She starts to notice the gap between your behavior and the behavior of others. If she is used to men constantly chasing her, then your absence of pursuit feels unusual, almost unsettling. She begins to compare, and that comparison makes her think of you more than she thought she would. Every time her phone stays silent, every time you don't rush to like her posts, every time you choose not to follow the same predictable path, her mind becomes more restless. That restlessness is not anger, it's not disappointment, it's curiosity taking shape. She wonders, is he not interested? Or is he someone who sees me differently? This curiosity forces her to analyze you more deeply than she normally would. And when a woman becomes curious, she doesn't just let it go. She starts to observe. She pays attention to your timing, to the way you interact with others, to how you carry yourself. She may even replay previous conversations in her mind, searching for clues. What you said, how you said it, your body language, it all suddenly becomes meaningful because she's trying to understand why you are not behaving like the rest. This curiosity also shifts her emotional focus. Instead of you thinking about her all the time, she is the one beginning to think about you. Even in small moments, you will cross her mind. While scrolling through her phone, she will remember that you haven't texted. While surrounded by attention from others, she will notice the absence of yours. And it's that absence that gives birth to desire. People often want what they can't immediately have, and your restraint feeds that natural psychology. Curiosity also makes her question herself. She wonders, did I say something wrong? Did I not leave a strong impression? Or is he just not the type to chase? Notice what's happening here. Your silence makes her doubt her own influence. Instead of you questioning your worth, she is the one now analyzing hers. That subtle reversal is what makes your presence so much stronger, even in your silence. She also starts to wonder about your life beyond her. Who are you when you're not giving her attention? What keeps you occupied? Do you have priorities, passions, or people that demand your energy? A man who doesn't chase immediately appears to have a world of his own, a life that doesn't revolve around her approval. That makes her curiosity even sharper, because women are naturally drawn to men who seem to live with purpose. And the most interesting part of curiosity is how it builds over time. At first, it's just a passing thought. Then it becomes a series of small questions. Then it grows into deeper speculation. She may not even realize it, but her curiosity about you has now turned into emotional investment. Without you lifting a finger, without you chasing, she has already begun to chase answers within herself. When you don't chase her, after the initial spark of curiosity fades in, something deeper begins to grow inside her. And that is the realization of value. At first, she may not admit it, but she feels it. She notices that your attention is not as easily available as she expected it to be, and suddenly your presence seems rare. It is in that rarity that she begins to recognize your worth. Human beings by nature value what is scarce. If something is always present, always available, always ready to give, it loses its impact. But when it is limited, when it cannot be taken for granted, that is when people pause and reflect. In the same way, your decision not to chase creates a distance that makes her realize your attention is not just another thing to collect. It is something special, something she cannot demand at will. She begins to compare the way you carry yourself with the way others behave around her. The men who constantly run after her seem predictable, almost ordinary. But you are different. You don't give without reason. You don't offer your time without purpose. You don't spend your energy on someone who hasn't truly earned it. That difference speaks louder than words, and in her mind, it raises your value. As days pass, she starts to weigh what it means to have your attention. When you spoke to her, how did it make her feel? When you laughed together, why does that memory still stay with her? She realizes that those small interactions had a weight she didn't acknowledge before. And now that your energy isn't pouring into her, she notices the void. That absence brings clarity. She realizes that your time and presence carried significance that she overlooked when it was right in front of her. Value realization also comes with a shift in her standards. She starts to think, if he doesn't chase me, then he must see himself as someone who doesn't need to. Maybe he's not desperate. Maybe he's not insecure. Maybe he's the kind of man who chooses carefully. These thoughts raise questions about what she offers in return. For the first time, she might begin to ask herself if she truly deserves the attention she desires from you. This process isn't always comfortable for her. In fact, it can be unsettling. When someone realizes that they cannot easily have what they want, it forces them to look at their own effort, their own behavior, their own contribution. Instead of assuming you will always be there, she has to think about what she must do to keep you interested. That realization of effort is a reflection of your value in her eyes. She also notices the way others may treat you. If you are respected by your peers, admired in your circle, or simply focused on your goals, she sees that. And it magnifies the sense that you are not just another man, but someone who is moving with intention. That awareness makes her realize that your attention is a gift, not an entitlement. There's also a psychological shift that takes place. When she sees you as valuable, she unconsciously adjusts her behavior. She becomes more thoughtful in how she interacts with you, more attentive to your reactions, and more invested in understanding you. She realizes she cannot play with your time the way she might with others. She becomes cautious because she knows your energy is rare, and rare things must be treated with care. And value realization doesn't just happen once. It grows. The more she notices what you are not giving, the more she reflects on what it meant when you did. The more she recognizes that you are not like the rest, the more she understands that losing your attention would be a bigger loss than she first imagined. This ongoing process is what makes your presence so powerful without you having to chase. When you don't chase her, a natural shift begins to happen in the dynamic between you and her. At first, she may not notice it, but slowly she starts to feel that the balance of power is no longer in her hands. She is used to being the one who decides who stays and who leaves, who gets attention and who gets ignored. But when you refuse to chase, you take that control away from her, and it unsettles her. The truth is, in most situations, women are accustomed to being pursued. They expect men to fight for their attention, to compete, to prove themselves. This expectation gives her a sense of authority. She feels like the prize that everyone is running toward. But the moment you step away from that chase, you remove her assumed power, and without realizing it, she is now the one questioning her position. This shift is not about arrogance, and it is not about playing games. It is about self-respect. When you choose not to chase, you are silently communicating that you know your worth. You are saying, my time and energy are not tools for your validation. That simple act of restraint shifts the power dynamic because suddenly she cannot control your actions. She cannot predict your moves. She cannot command your presence. That unpredictability makes her rethink the way she sees you. As the power shifts, she begins to feel the weight of responsibility. If she wants your attention, she now has to create a reason for it. She has to give something back. She has to show qualities beyond beauty, beyond charm, beyond superficial games. For the first time, she feels the need to prove herself, and that is where the power truly shifts. Instead of you trying to earn her approval, she starts wondering how she can earn yours. This reversal plays strongly on her emotions. She begins to question why you aren't chasing her like others. She may even feel a sting to her ego because the validation she was expecting doesn't come from you. And when her ego is challenged, her interest intensifies. She wants to understand you, she wants to decode you, and she wants to win what she feels she hasn't yet conquered. That subtle challenge is what makes her attention turn toward you more deeply. And this shift doesn't only affect her actions, it affects her mindset. When you don't chase, she begins to see you as someone with standards. A man who doesn't run after every woman is a man who knows what he wants and who he is. That realization pushes her to respect you, even if she doesn't admit it openly. Respect and attraction are always connected, and this respect grows when the power balance is no longer in her complete control. As time goes on, she may try to regain the power she once felt. She may test you with silence, with distance, or with subtle hints. But every time you stand firm and refuse to break into the old pattern of chasing, you strengthen that power shift. She learns, sometimes unconsciously, that your validation is not free. It must be earned, and that lesson changes the way she interacts with you. The power shift also creates a new sense of curiosity in her behavior. She wonders what drives you, what keeps you from following the same script others follow. She starts to see you not just as another admirer, but as a man who has his own path, his own focus, his own strength. That image makes her want to align herself with you rather than control you, because deep down she knows she cannot manipulate a man who doesn't chase. And as this dynamic continues, her perception of you transforms. The man she thought she could easily predict has now become a mystery. The attention she thought she could command has become something rare. The validation she thought she could demand has now turned into something she must earn. In this silent exchange, the power has shifted completely, and it shifted the moment you chose not to chase. When you don't chase her, one of the most powerful shifts that begins to unfold is the slow but steady build of respect and attraction. At first, she may not label it as respect. She may not even call it attraction. But deep inside, she starts to feel something different toward you, something that sets you apart from the men who desperately run after her. That difference is rooted in the way you hold yourself, in the way you withhold your energy, and in the way you stand firm in your self-worth. Respect always comes before attraction. A woman may feel temporary excitement for a man who gives her constant attention, but lasting attraction only grows when there is respect, and respect cannot be forced. It is earned through discipline, through restraint, and through the refusal to lower yourself just to gain someone's approval. When she sees that you are not desperate for her time or validation, she cannot help but respect that level of self-control. Your silence communicates something powerful. It tells her you are not like the rest. You don't need her to feel complete. You don't need her to feel validated. You don't need her to fill a void within you. That independence makes her see you as a man who carries himself with dignity, and dignity is always respected. When respect builds, attraction naturally follows, because women are drawn to men who operate from a place of strength, not from weakness. As her respect for you grows, she begins to measure her own behavior differently. She becomes more cautious with her words, more intentional with her actions, and more attentive to how you perceive her. This isn't something she consciously decides. It's a natural response to recognizing that you are not someone she can treat carelessly. She knows she must put in effort if she wants to be acknowledged by you, and that effort is born from the respect she now feels. At the same time, attraction begins to deepen. Attraction is not always about looks, charm, or gestures. True attraction is about the way a man carries his frame, his energy, and his standards. By not chasing, you are showing that you operate from inner confidence. You are not begging for her time. Instead, you are letting her see that your time has value. That unspoken message makes her feel drawn to you in a way she didn't expect. What makes this respect and attraction even stronger is the contrast. She knows what it feels like to have men flood her with attention. She knows the pattern of endless compliments, late night texts, and constant attempts to impress. And when you don't fall into that pattern, she notices. That contrast makes you rare, and rarity is always attractive. The harder it is to find someone like you, the more respect she feels for the way you stand apart from the crowd. Respect also builds when she realizes you are in control of yourself. Many men lose their composure around women they desire. They overthink, they overgive, they overpursue, but you don't. You remain grounded, steady, and calm. That composure is magnetic because it shows discipline. Discipline is strength, and strength is always attractive. As attraction grows, she may find herself thinking of you at unexpected times. She may wonder why she can't easily predict you, why she can't fully figure you out. That curiosity blends with respect and becomes fascination. Fascination is one of the deepest layers of attraction because it makes her want to keep discovering more about you. And that desire to discover only happens when she respects the way you hold yourself. The more she reflects on your behavior, the more she realizes that your respect for yourself sets the tone for how she must respect you. Without saying a word, without chasing, without demanding anything, you are teaching her how to value you. And in that process, her attraction doesn't just grow, it becomes rooted in admiration. When you don't chase her, something significant happens within her emotions. She begins to feel tested, even though you never intended it that way. Your restraint, your silence, and your refusal to run after her becomes an unspoken challenge, a mirror that forces her to look at herself and her true intentions. This is where the emotional test begins, and it is far more powerful than anything you could say with words. The first part of this test is her questioning her own motives. She starts to ask herself, why do I want his attention? Do I genuinely like him, or do I just want to feel validated? These questions don't surface when a man is chasing her because the constant flood of attention leaves no room for reflection. But when you step back, she is left alone with her thoughts, and those thoughts become a test of her own sincerity. An emotional test also reveals the strength of her interest. If she was only entertaining you for her ego, she will feel frustrated by your distance. That frustration exposes her real reason. She wasn't there for you, she was there for the validation you gave her. On the other hand, if she is genuinely interested, your silence doesn't push her away, it pulls her closer. It makes her realize that she wants more than just attention. She wants connection, and she feels the need to prove that to you. Another layer of this test is patience. How she reacts when you don't instantly respond tells you more about her than anything she could say. If she values you, she won't rush to judgment. She won't accuse, she won't lash out. Instead, she will reflect and wait. But if her interest is shallow, her emotions will reveal it quickly. Impatience, annoyance, or even attempts to manipulate your attention are signs that she is failing the emotional test. The emotional test also uncovers her resilience. A woman who truly respects you will not crumble just because you don't chase her. Instead, she will rise to the challenge. She will try to match your energy. She will try to earn your time, and she will step into the effort that builds real connection. In this way, your restraint acts as a filter, separating those who want you for the right reasons from those who never saw your true value. This test affects her ego as well. When she is used to men chasing her, your refusal becomes a crack in her confidence. She may wonder, am I not attractive enough? Did I say something wrong? Why is he not reacting like the rest? That crack in her ego is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. It forces her to confront whether she values you as a man or if she only valued the boost you gave to her self image. The emotional test also teaches her about balance. Relationships cannot be built on one person giving everything while the other sits back. By not chasing, you silently demand balance. You communicate that if she wants your attention, she must give something meaningful in return. If she is willing to rise to that balance, she passes the test. If she refuses, then the imbalance reveals itself and the truth of her intentions becomes clear. As time passes, the emotional test grows deeper. She might replay your interactions in her mind, trying to figure out if she missed signals. She might question why she feels drawn to you, even without constant attention. She might even start to adjust her behavior, choosing to give more, choosing to show up differently, because she feels that you are worth the effort. All of these reactions are signs that she is wrestling with the test, and in that struggle, her true feelings reveal themselves. What makes this emotional test so powerful is that it requires no effort from you. You don't need to play games. You don't need to manipulate. You don't even need to say much. Simply by not chasing, you create a space where her emotions test her. And the results of that test show you everything you need to know about her intentions, her depth, and her willingness to invest in you. When you don't chase her, the effects are not just immediate. They stretch into the long term, creating a ripple that influences how she thinks about you far beyond the first interaction. At first, she feels curiosity, then comes realization. But over time, what lingers is the deeper impact: how she sees you, how she defines you, and how she remembers you in the bigger picture of her life. The long-term impact begins with memory. People don't often remember those who blended in with the crowd, who acted like everyone else, who were predictable. They remember the ones who broke the pattern, the ones who carried themselves differently. By not chasing, you already stand out as rare, and that rarity gives you a permanent place in her mind. She may meet many men, but she will not forget the one who refused to run after her like the rest. Another layer of the long-term impact is the way she redefines value. Over time, she realizes that men who chased her didn't hold the same power in her memory as the man who didn't. The attention that once felt exciting now feels empty in comparison to the respect she felt for your restraint. Slowly, she starts to understand that validation is easy to get, but genuine worth is rare, and it's the rare that lingers in her heart and mind. This impact also shapes her standards. Once she experiences the difference of a man who doesn't chase, it becomes difficult for her to view constant pursuers the same way again. She may still enjoy attention, but deep down, she knows it doesn't carry the same weight. The comparison is inevitable. Your self-control becomes the invisible benchmark against which she measures others. And because of that, she cannot help but place you in a different category from the rest. The long-term effect also influences her attraction cycles. She may go through phases where she doesn't actively think of you, but something will trigger the memory: a song, a conversation, another man acting desperate, and immediately she will recall how different you were. That difference becomes a standard, and standards have a way of staying with a person long after the moment has passed. In some cases, this long-term impact may even turn into pursuit. The more time passes, the more she may realize what she overlooked when she had your attention. That regret can grow into longing, and longing often becomes action. She may reach out, test the waters, or try to reinsert herself into your life because the memory of your restraint keeps resurfacing. And even if she never acts on it, the thought of you remains a powerful presence in her mind. Long-term impact also affects the way she perceives men in general. If she once believed that every man will eventually chase, your behavior challenges that belief. You become the exception that proves not all men are the same. That realization shifts her perspective, and in the process, it raises your position in her memory. The exception is always remembered more than the rule. Over time, she may even come to respect you more in hindsight. Distance often amplifies value. The more she thinks back, the more she realizes how rare it was that you didn't fold, didn't beg, didn't run after her. That respect grows with time, and even if she doesn't express it to you directly, it silently influences how she views you whenever your name or memory crosses her path. And perhaps the deepest long-term impact is the way your behavior forces her to reflect on herself. She might question her own patterns, her own need for validation, her own choices in the men she entertains. She might recognize that the chase she once craved didn't give her the lasting fulfillment she thought it would. That realization may not come immediately, but when it does, it is tied to the memory of you, the one who didn't give her what she was used to. So when you choose not to chase, you do more than hold back your words or your actions. You shift her entire perception. You spark her curiosity. You make her realize your value. You turn the power dynamic around. You build respect and attraction. You place her through an emotional test, and you leave an impact that lasts far beyond the moment. The message is clear. A man who doesn't chase shows strength, and strength is what commands both respect and desire.